So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and today I'm joined by Rory Rummings, and he's the singer and guitar player for the band Cloudcatcher. They're this band from Denver, and it's pretty interesting sound because they play like it's like a mixture of old school heavy metal with some stoner and doom to it a little bit. So I really dug it, and they're about to release their new album this Friday, and it's their first album since 2017 because you put out an EP in 2019, so it's their first full-length album in a while, and it's called Return from the Cauldron. So first of all, Rory, how are you today?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So it looks really cool where you are because you're like out in nature, in the woods. That's a great area to be in. So yeah, I listened to the album, and I listened to also your oldest material. So yeah, it's got that old school like when they send the promo like they describe like classic heavy metal, and I heard a lot of like Black Sabbath on one of the songs, especially to me. I'm gonna see if you're thinking the same song that I am. Return from the Cauldron. That last song oozed like Black Sabbath influence so much, and
Yeah,
it's a great album closer.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, so that song in particular, just kind of funny enough. I mean, it's cliche to say this day and age, but nonetheless, the music is extremely important. Tony Iommi, Black Sabbath is like an extreme fundamental foundation of my guitar playing. But yeah, that song in particular, Return from the Cauldron, is, I don't want to say it's Sabbath worship because I also hear some trouble in there. I didn't really go out of my way to make it sound like that, but it's definitely, I mean,
I said
you wear your
influence, no, yeah. So yeah, the good thing is that you didn't have to cut any of your fingers
yeah,
to
right.
create that sound.
My dad's a woodworker, did all that for me.
Tony Iommi took it for the team, for everyone. And it's kind of like incredible that because of an accident that he had to relearn how to play the guitar, and heavy fucking metal was born. Like, who would have known?
Pretty much. It's the things that happen in the universe. Sometimes they're just, it's meant to be, man. What is, you know what I mean? And I'm sure if he didn't even lose like part of his finger, Sabbath would still fucking rule hard. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. So for people that don't know Cloudcatcher, because obviously you're a newer band, more on the underground, tell us a little bit about the history of the band and how you guys formed.
So I formed Cloudcatcher back in May of 2013 with our old drummer Jared, who was on the first album, the second album, and then the Whip EP, which came out in 2019. Man, I just turned 20 when the band started. I think Jared was 21, but we kind of just, I don't know. I grew up listening to like Sabbath, Maiden, Priest, stuff like that. Just really, really guitar driven music. Thanks to my parents. My mom loved hair metal and shit like that, so I have a soft spot for that. But like my dad was the one who introduced me to like Maiden and everything. I just remember, especially Van Halen too. But I just remember falling in love with the guitar. I always grew. I mean, I've been playing guitar since I was 11, so been playing in bands since I was like 13, 14. So by the time Cloudcatcher had formed, I had like this vision where I just wanted to play like a heavy rock band, guitar driven. Just, I don't know, man. Power trio. I just kind of wanted to bring it back to the old days without being redundant or anything like that. But yeah, man, pretty much just been playing heavy rock since 2013. But I would say it's metal, truthfully. But there's so many genres. Who's to say nowadays?
There's too many genres. Sometimes I get so fucking confused.
Oh, it kills me.
Yeah, like they keep inventing stuff. I'm like, oh my god, I get so confused. Like, and they keep adding like different elements to it because in the last 10 years, the latest thing that is being added to metal is electronic music, like mixing electronic music with metal, because obviously we had new metal when they mixed the rap, and but now it's more like electronic and then degent, which
Yeah,
was like born like 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's like the hip thing for sure. I think I mean, I know it's been around forever. That's not really my wheelhouse, but like I said, I'm a guitar guy. One of the bands I like that is like that, even though I haven't listened to them in a hot minute, is Animals as Leaders. I think their first two albums are incredible, dude. Tosin Abasi really is like a guitar god, a modern day guitar god.
Yeah, no, but the sound of Cloud Catchers, there's no degent to it. You know, this is like
no.
straightforward heavy metal with
Yep.
groove, and there's like a stoner element to it. And the name really, when I read the name, I think of like psychedelia, psychedelic
Of
band.
course.
Because Cloud Catcher, like what is a cloud catcher? Like what inspired you for that name?
So, I mean, truth be told, that is a very stony psychedelic name. Again, we were 20 when we came up with it. I don't want to say we came up with it, but there was like I don't know. Jared and I just kind of, when we first started hanging out, we used to smoke a lot of fucking pot. And then we pretty much were just like, okay, we need a band name. Let's just kind of like reach into our interests and see what comes up. And then we were just reading some Native American folk tales and stuff like that. And I believe there's this story called Cloud Catcher and the Moon Woman. And we just were like, whoa, Cloud Catcher. But the story itself is really, really cool, man. It's I wish I could tell you which tribe it was, but man, it's awesome. It's an awesome story.
Yeah, sounds like I can just imagine the two of you like smoking. I'm like, and look at the clouds, like, man, I want to catch that cloud, but I can't.
Yeah, well, we also like, I guess another influence on the name was like, I don't know, I still am. I'm obsessed with like just things that are bigger than the imagination. You know what I mean? I live in the mountains, so it's crazy to like, I mean, mountains are essentially cloud catchers, man. They're there taking the full force of it. But I like the idea of just something that's it's so beyond like your vision and just how like you can comprehend things, that it's just basically there sitting in the clouds catching them. I don't know how to explain it other than that.
Yeah, no, but it's a cool name, you know, and luckily enough, a name that wasn't used, because I haven't seen a lot of band names with cloud or catching. So you're like, yes, no one has this name.
No, for sure. And again, at the end of the day, man, it's just a name. But I think it kind of because it was unused and it's a little bit it's kind of obscure sounding in a weird way. You don't really know what kind of music we would play. That's kind of the
you could tell like it could be like psychedelic rock or heavy metal or doom. It could be progressive metal.
Yeah,
like it could be so many things.
It's like Dream Theater. That, of course, you think of Dream Theater now, they're like just incredible progressive metal. But like, if you heard that in the 80s, what the fuck would Dream Theater be? Can I cuss, by the way? I should have asked.
If you think about it without listening to them, it sounds like a synth pop group.
Dream Theater, absolutely. Cloudcatcher too.
Yeah, it could be. The sky's the limit, because you know there's band names that you listen to them and you're like, no, you need to. You sound like you play like one thing, like if Immortal, you're black metal.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
I've been on a lately too.
Yeah. So for this release, you know, it's been a couple of years. Obviously, I'm sure after you put the EP, you probably took some time with the pandemic to work on new music. How did you want it to evolve musically from your last EP to this release?
So in 2019, the Whip EP came out, and I guess we recorded that in June of 2018. I mean, at that time, I was super into like Merciful Fate. I still am. I'm a huge Merciful Fate fan, but like I kind of just wanted to push my limits as far as like playing metal goes. I don't even want to say metal, because that's just kind of whatever. That's kind of another blanket term. Metal is metal, man. I just wanted to just play ripping, fast, thrashy, melodic shit. Anyway, that was for the Whip EP. So then I came out in 2019. Unfortunately, we had to cancel a tour. The band went on hiatus for a few months, and then I reformed Cloudcatcher with our current bassist, Matt Ross. he just expressed interest in playing. So then in 2020, we did the Royal Flush sessions, which is, it's basically 3 new songs and like a live version of an old song, but we recorded it live at our buddy's cabin.
That's
So
cool. Yeah, I'm looking
yeah,
at the cover right now, and I can see
yeah,
that you put the cabin in the picture.
yeah. No, I mean that's the thing. We kind of, I'm not a big social media person. I just use it to post shit. I wish we kind of would have wanted it more to explain what it was, but I'll just put this out here real quick and I'll answer your question. But yeah, the Royal Flush sessions was like, we hauled up a bunch of generators, we brought up all our gear, we had our buddies film it. Like we just recorded essentially a live EP in the middle of the woods. It was awesome. There's some footage of it on YouTube. It was one of my favorite experiences in my life playing music. Hard as hell because it was, we're like carrying over generators over boulders and shit like that to get like the perfect shot in this little area. But no, man, it was awesome. That was a great time, and I'm proud of it too. I think we played pretty good. I think that lineup was only 3 or 4 months old at that time, so those songs are brand new. But anyway, what I was going to say to kind of answer your question is, with this new LP, the Royal Flush sessions were integral because we kind of use that as like a training ground demo, demo mindset to kind of perfect these songs. Like, okay, what would we change here? What would we add here? What would we do different here? We kind of use it to trim the fat, essentially. But with Return from the Cauldron, I don't know, man. I just feel like this is the lineup that Cloudcatcher should have always had. And that's not saying anything to slight any of the former members, because everything's a journey. But it was definitely like, I don't know, everything just clicked into place and I got super inspired, and riffs just came out, songs just came out. We actually all had input for once. Some people in previous iterations were like incredible musicians and they just really weren't, they didn't have the mindset for writing, but they were so good with like, coming up with a riff, but not the placement of the riff. With Will and Matt, they definitely helped out a lot with like, hey, try this riff here, or let's get rid of this part here. So I would say Return from the Cauldron is definitely, I don't know, man, it's the first tried and true Cloudcatcher album, I think. You can hear that cohesive, we're a unit. I hope that answered your question.
Oh, yeah. When you started like answering, I'm like, I forgot what question I asked.
Yeah, but me too.
We went on a trip with I just was thinking about the Royal Flush and the cabin. But yeah, I think so too, So this is like a new chapter for the band. And what you're telling me is like, you feel like this is like the band's like best albums to date. And you feel like you're, with the new players, they're integral. So you're a unit now, that you're all creating this music together.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. And you chose that the single that you chose to promote is "I Am the Storm." What can you tell me about that song?
That was another. So the main riff had been around for a really long time. Essentially, the opening riff. I've always loved it. Again, that's another huge like Iomi riff. But yeah, I just, with previous iterations of Cloudcatcher, we tried kind of using it. It just didn't work out. The timing wasn't right for it. But yeah, with this one, it just ended up being perfect. That song is basically about, as cliche as it sounds, man, being a warrior. It's about the warrior's path, casting away like negativity and all this poser bullshit by being yourself. I mean, the bridge part, a lariat, a judgment for their false deeds, hang them high. It's like, that's a about, in a symbolic way, it's about killing posers. It's about getting rid of the falseness in this world, man. That song is supposed to really be like a power. It's just a power anthem. I don't know.
Yeah, when you say about the posers, I just think James Hetfield shouting "Kill them all."
Oh yeah,
when they put out "Kill 'Em All," it was all about that. But yeah, metal, like you say, like sometimes the not being corny or something. But come on, Bruce Dickinson and Iron Maiden were singing about running to the hill and stuff. There's like you can't take metal too seriously. There's some
No,
corniness to everything, like
of course.
especially in the 80s, because there's some bands that take themselves way too seriously.
Yeah,
Uh, and,
absolutely. Well, that I don't know. I feel like that's kind of like especially nowadays with like social media and stuff like that. If there's like a trend for people like trying to be cool and like dressing up and like looking all tough and shit. And it's like
oh my-
you're playing rock and roll, you're playing metal,
yeah.
man. Like I get
To
there's an
me,
ad.
the genre in metal that I like to make the most fun of is power metal.
Oh, you can't not.
Because they're like I've interviewed people in power metal, and when they're talking about like the dragons and stuff, I'm like, come on. And I'm like, come
Yeah.
on, dude.
Yeah.
Like
No. I mean, you're right. There's always an element of corniness and stuff like that, but it's also, you know, one of my favorite songwriters and just musicians in general is Ronnie James Dio. He
yeah,
was all on that trip, dude. Like I loved how I get it, the corniness of it all, but like for him,
but he
the
was
imagery,
Dio. Mhm.
yeah, he was Dio, man. The imagery had meaning, it had symbolism. It wasn't just like let's fucking. I mean, dude, the concept of slaying a dragon is metal as fuck. That is so cool, but it's overdone. It can be corny. You know what I mean?
You're like, let's write another song about killing dragons.
Oh my god. Like nowadays too, it's like all songs about like smoking pot and stuff like that, which is cool, man. I get it, but it's not counterculture anymore, man. That's like
yeah.
Sweet Leaf when Sabbath that was like what the fuck? Like that was
And
unheard of.
also, I'm glad that your album, it's not about like, because I've talked to a lot of people and they're like, oh, this album is about like the world is ending, like, and I'm like, okay. Like, yes, we know the pandemic put a record, but let's talk about something else. So I like that your
Yeah,
record, it's fucking fun. It's a fun metal record.
thanks, man.
It's not like I don't think there's like a story to it. It's just fun tracks to kick ass.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
like
For sure.
yeah, not every album has to be a concept record
No.
and be like something. I just want sometimes a record that I can listen to and fucking rock. And this is what this Cloudcatcher album has done. It's just a banger from beginning to end with fun tracks and but true to old school rock and roll, giving it a new flavor. That's why I said Black Sabbath influence and not what you said that like the like the fanboy or something.
Yeah. No, man, I appreciate that. I guess the one thing kind of like, you were just talking about how like, the world's descending into madness and everything's fucked. I hate that mindset. I feel like that totally is counterintuitive to, again, as corny as this sounds, the warrior's path, man. Like it's about, for me, heavy music and just living in general is rolling with the punches. And yeah, the pandemic sucked. Yeah, shit's tough right now. But you can choose to be a victim and you can choose to be a fucking downer, or you can choose to just use the riffs to essentially brighten your mood, man. That's what it's about. Like all the lyrics for the most part in Cloudcatcher, especially Return from the Cauldron, are about empowerment, man. It's about straight up, it's just about being a warrior. It's about being positive and seeing through the bullshit as hard as it is, man. The hard times make for hard people, but hard
Yeah.
people are also real people. You know what I mean? Shit's hard, dude. Shit's hard. That's just how it is right now. That's how it's always been. But you can choose to let that define you, or you can choose to just fight back,
You just have different stuff. Like I wish it was 1999 where the worry that we had was Y2K and the computers. The numbers. When I think about that, I would like to
Oh,
go
no.
back in time and just fucking laugh at everyone.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
wish
Things
like
are.
all the problems was like Y2K. Oh, that was
Yeah. Well, I was a kid when that happened, man. Like I said, I'm 30.
Me too.
I remember that.
I wasn't a kid, but I was like in my 20s, and I remember like a big fuss about it. And I remember being at New Year's, December 31st, 1999, And I'm like, what's gonna happen when it
Yeah.
turned 12? And you know what happened? Absolutely fucking nothing. Like life continued. But yeah, it's hilarious. So let's talk a little bit about the writing process for this album.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about your writing process when you're working on these tracks and the lyrics. What comes first for you, the riffs and then the lyrics?
Yeah, generally it's usually the riffs and then the lyrics afterwards. I find, man, I don't know. As of late, lyrics have been a little bit easier, but that's always the hardest part for me, man. Like it's always hard because having to like write lyrics and then a vocal melody on top of like a riff. I like to try and treat the vocal melody as like a separate, almost like a separate song. Sometimes it's hard to not do that though. Sabbath, like if you think of like Iron Man, all the instruments follow each other. And that's kind of how I Am the Storm was too. I was having a hard time figuring out a vocal melody for that. But yeah, definitely riffs first before lyrics. As far as the writing process goes, man, like sometimes I'll just pick up the guitar and I never really practice. I just play. Sometimes it's like a bolt of lightning hits you in the head and it's like, oh my God, I got to write a song with that riff. How the hell did that just happen? Other times it's just kind of, you're messing around with older riffs and then like you find variations on it. And yeah. But I don't know, it's kind of, it's almost supernatural. As corny as that sounds, like sometimes it just happens and it's like, sweet, I'm gonna roll with it.
Yeah. So you heard it here. Rory got abducted by aliens and given the riffs.
Yeah, especially those aliens right now, whatever the hell.
Yeah, especially where you're living. I see the tweets and I think of that movie from the 90s, Fire in the Sky.
Yeah.
Do you remember that movie where the guy, and it was based on a true story, but the funny thing about that movie is like, I'm like, did it really happen like that? You guys, there's like, you are out in the woods and you see like this light. Why the fuck would you willingly walk to see a weird light in the sky and just be on? I'm like, it makes no sense. I'm sorry for the guy, but you probably wanted to be abducted by aliens at that moment. You're like,
and nothing wrong with getting probed if that's your thing.
I don't want to be probed by anything, but yeah. So yeah, the songs are pretty cool and catchy. So I'm going to show the artwork for this, which is a pretty cool looking artwork. So here we have the artwork for Cloudcatcher. And also when you look at the Cloud name, at the logo, you went a little bit with the, you have to look at more than a few times to read it. But yeah, tell me about what this artwork represents, because I see like there's a hand and there's like flames and it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so my wife did that. Her name's Christina Hunt, and I'm not just saying this because she's my wife, but she is truly like the most.
It, sir. It is always smart to give props to the wife.
She rules, but yeah, she does everything by hand. The only thing that was really done digitally is just like scanning that in and some minor color correction. As far as the meaning behind it, that's kind of a hard question to answer. Essentially, I will just say it's there. I kind of don't want to. I don't really want to. I don't want to give it away, but it's there. If you get it, you get it, and if you don't, that's totally fine. But the answer is right there. It's Return from the Cauldron, man. Like being reborn in flame, being reborn anew. You know what I mean? A white positive light in a dark space. It's what we were just talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just about right.
I could just figure out it would be a great this would have been a great interview if we were like grilling and smoking and just talking about like, you look like a guy who likes to grill good barbecue.
Yeah. I mean, I grill the shit out of some tofu.
You the what?
Oh, I said I grill the shit out of some tofu, man. I don't eat meat.
Okay, well, yeah, you can really.
Hey, but no. Those assholes, how dare you say that? I'm just a rugged mountain guy, dude. I shower though, I promise you.
No, that's yeah. Somewhere James Hetfield is crying because like, oh, he's not he's not
What the heck?
hunting, and like, and you don't have like you don't have a lot of bees, because he's got that. I remember when he did that Joe Rogan interview,
Yeah.
and he talked about bees for 30 fucking minutes, and I was
Oh,
like intrigued. I was like, I would never thought that James Hetfield loved bees so much. So
yeah.
he was. I'm sure he
They're
was like
fucking one of the
thrilled.
rip.
Yeah, I'm sure he was thrilled
Yeah.
to be asked about something that wasn't about metal, for
Yeah.
once in his
Oh,
life.
50 questions. I'm sure that always gets redundant, especially when you're that big, man. I can only imagine. Like, then people are about surface level shit. Like, what inspired Enter Sandman? It's like, I don't want to fucking talk about that song. I want to talk about like No Remorse or something like that. You know what I mean? All the questions we've been asked to him, he's just a regular dude. Most musicians are just.
I would just
all
ask them like,
regular.
I'm like, when you listen to Saint Anger, did you have hearing problems at this time? Like, did you think
James,
that?
we need.
Yeah, that drum thing. What the fuck? But yeah, so yeah, this album, it's like I said before, it's a pretty straightforward funk record. So for you writing this album, what was for you the hardest song to write, and which song on the album is your favorite right now?
The hardest song to write. So I would say that was either the song Return from the Cauldron. Man, just because we had so many ideas and we had to trim the fat because it's a long song.
Yeah,
we didn't want to.
It's like a 10-minute song, I think. Almost.
Yeah, it's like 9 minutes, almost 10 minutes for sure. That's the intent. We really wanted to. For that song, we wanted to use the studio as a tool, but then we ended up sounding. It's just, man, it lost the ambience and like how stripped down and just dark it was supposed to be. I would say that was a tough one to write. Another one, oh man, the song Gemini's Ascent is I don't want to say that was hard to write, but I will say
that was pretty cool because that one really sounded like 70s, like 60s influence to it. And it's more of a laid back, quieter song.
Yeah, I would definitely say that is like the most psychedelic.
Yeah,
quiet.
I agree.
That one, I don't want to say that one was hard to write, but that one was kind of a challenge. Like I had like a weird ego thing with that song in particular. Because it's still got one of my favorite riffs in it, especially like the end heavy part. That I love.
But admit it, Rory, you wrote that one for the boomers.
Yeah, totally.
That's you can sell it like we have a boomer approved song. If you like Leonard Skinner, if you like that, you will like this track because it's got that boomer sound.
Yeah, no, I'll take it, man. Boomers.
They buy records.
Yeah, they do. No, man, that song, I guess that one, what I was kind of getting at though is like that one was hard for me to write. It's more for like an ego aspect because it's so, it's definitely a softer song. It's more dynamic. It's not like in your face heavy the whole time.
Yeah, no, but it's a cool song. I say the boomer thing as a joke, but
oh no, believe me, I don't give a shit about it. I know you're joking. I'm not offended. But yeah, man, that song was definitely a hard one to get over, just ego wise. I wrote that main part too. Like pretty much everything about that song was written when I was like 16. My best friend Jake and I used to have it for like one of our first bands. That was like something we just dicked around on for a while. And he's a good dude. He's one of my best friends in the world. He's been kind of going through a hard time. So I just wanted to write a song for him on the album. And yeah, that's for him.
No, that's cool. And if he doesn't know it, he'll know now that
the
song
he will.
is for him.
I better see him on tour. Damn it, Jacob.
So talking about tour, so you're releasing the album on September 29th. I'll put the pre-order for people who wanna pre-order that and buy. And you're gonna have some shows. And the shows are, because I have here the promo, actually the first show you have will be on the 30th. So this Saturday, and it's gonna be the record release show for Return from the Cauldron. It's gonna be in Denver, Colorado. Where are you guys playing for that release show?
The High Dive. It's a legendary venue.
Oh yeah,
in
I just saw it.
Denver.
It says High Dive right there. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it rules, man. It's a club, but it's cool. Everyone there is incredible. I don't know, man. It's hard to find. I mean, there's a reason why so many bands here in Denver call it home. You know what I mean? Especially for playing shows, it rules. The staff are incredible. The sound is perfect. It's like for a venue like that, the sound is perfect. You can't get much better. But yeah, the High Dive, and that's with Green Druid and the Munsons.
The Munsons.
So
that sounds like a cool name.
Yeah, the
Isn't
Munsons,
that from the Munsons? Isn't that from a movie? Munsons.
The Monster. I think they were just changing it around.
Oh, and I see that you're gonna be on tour until like almost the end of October. It's gonna be more of a West Coast tour.
Yep. So we're doing. We kind of have like some warm-up shows the following weekend. Like October 6th is in Fort Collins, and the 7th is Cheyenne, Wyoming. Then we're gonna get our shit together for like 3 days, and then we're finally gonna leave. So we're doing Salt Lake City on the 12th. The 13th, I believe, is Las Vegas. The 14th is Oceanside. I might have that messed up, but yeah, it's a West Coast tour, man. We haven't been out there, so every time we play California, I guess I say every time I've been to California with Cloudcatcher, it's been awesome. It's a cool state. There's a lot of great people there.
It's a cool state, but expensive as fuck.
Oh, dude, it's ridiculous how expensive it is. I have like I said, I have some buddies out there, and they're scraping by, and they bust their ass, so it's just pricey.
No, I'm telling you, everyone that lives in California should have an OnlyFans. there's no other way to live, right? It's too expensive everywhere. In California, it's ridiculous. It's a beautiful state. I've been to I love San Francisco, but
me too.
It's expensive as fuck. Like too expensive. But yeah, so it's gonna be a cool tour. So when you go on tour for you, what like essential items do you need on tour for you, to make life more bearable on tour?
Baby wipes, extra socks, extra underwear, and a sleeping bag.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but some every time I wash clothes, it seems like socks disappear. And sometimes I'm like, I just have 2 pair of socks. Where are all my socks?
The dryers always take the socks, man. Our dryer here is fucking on it. It loves socks, and they just go. They're gone. Like we've opened it up, and they're not in there. But yeah, dryers love socks.
Yeah, they love they sense the energy of the socks and take them. So Rory, it's been great chatting with you about Cloudcatcher and the upcoming album. I would recommend this to people who like classic heavy metal, stoner rock, doom, even some progressive tendencies and rock to it, because it has a little bit of everything. So, and it's a power trio. Power trios are interesting. When I think of power trio, the first band that comes to mind is Rush. Like sometimes you just need 3 people.
Sure. It's my ethos with Cloudcatcher too, or ethos. Just one of the mission statements was like louder and smaller. You know what I mean? Like 3 people can be loud as fuck.
Yes, and also when you get paid, it's easier to divide the money. Like, just imagine if Slipknot was broke. Like they have like 9 people. How can they pay everyone? And for example, like how can you pay the same to the guy that's just hitting a fucking can? Or in ska music, like the Mighty Boston's, they had the guy that he danced. Like, how much do you pay a guy just to dance on a band? So, I think
the Brian Jonestown Massacre, the tambourine player. Oh my god, dude! I want to slap that dude every time I see him. How are you getting 25%? That dude drives me fucking Easy, man.
Maybe you could add like a cowbell guy.
Oh, he'll have to do merch.
Yeah,
You'll need the
yeah, and
work.
like you have him do merch, you'll have him clean the band and do everything so he can get properly paid. So yeah, so the album is out this Friday, the 29th. So people go get that. I'm gonna put the picture again. Here it is. Return from the Cauldron, which is such a cool name for an album. You know, it has a cool title to it. So Rory, anything that you like to say to the fans before we head out?
Thanks for your support for the last 10 years. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Listen to it with open ears, crank it as loud as you can. And yeah, hopefully see you on tour and keep supporting underground music, man. It's crucial. You know, my van died last year on tour. I'm doing this fucking tour in my Tacoma, man. Like we want it. A lot of bands are like,
Maybe you can name this tour like the Rest in Peace former band tour.
that was, dude, that van, I don't even want to think about it anymore. I have such a love-hate relationship with it.
All right.
But yeah,
I have interesting stories with cars. Like I remember I had this car and here in Puerto Rico, and I had to pay, you know, every year you have to pay like something that says that you can use the car. I paid that, and as I'm leaving, as I paid, the car died. After I paid the $100 for, I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Couldn't it have died before? So yeah,
that's
it's just
how it always, dude. That's how it always goes. Our last tour, speaking of which, I know we're about to get off, but yeah, I had to my van died in Texas, and it was like this is like a 2002 Dodge, some random obscure computer part that you can't find. Every dealer or every mechanic we took it to was like, dude, there's like a 2-week wait time on this. And I had to get to work 4 days later. So I ended up having to sell my van for like $900 to rent a fucking U-Haul to get home. It sucked, man. That shit sucked. That was truly heartbreaking. That was one of the hardest things I've ever had to experience in my life, especially because I busted my ass for that van. But yeah, shit happens, dude. But like I said, that's why.
Yeah, but you have a great positive attitude, so that's always good.
Oh, it's funny. At the time, I was fucking pissed, but it's hilarious when you look back.
I was pissed too, but yeah. So
Man,
Cloudcatcher, check them out on tour and buy the album. So until next time, people, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and good night.